Hey everybody, in a while. Hopefully that worked just now. To start all over. Hello everybody. Thank you for your patience. We are starting a little bit late because the first broadcast, the microphone was not working. We are testing out a new microphone and maybe we'll do some more work with that microphone soon. But I figured I'd just go back to the basics of what I know and just nix the new microphone just for right now. And we'll try it again another time. So please out there, please let me know if it is working. I don't want to go any further until it is confirmed that I am, that you can hear me, of course. So my name is Amanda. This is Once in a Wild Wednesday, where each and every Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, we try to go live across social media. We're over on Instagram as well, so please check out our live over there too if you prefer Instagram. Hooray, I'm so glad you can hear me now. I hope the sound sounds good. I hope the picture looks good. If the picture ever doesn't look good on either platform or any platform, or if the sound is not working, always let me know. And that is the best. You're my best backup for that. You can let me know because I can't tell because I'm right here in the studio today. But Once in a Wild Wednesday, we try to bring you guys some animals to meet virtually. Once in a Wild is a mobile zoo based right here in South Texas. We're in San Antonio, Texas, and we can serve San Antonio and surrounding cities. That's what I meant to say. And all good, very good. I'm so happy. So let's go ahead and get started before anything else bad happens. So let's get started. Hopefully everybody can still hear me. My name is Amanda. Once in a Wild Wednesday is back in action. We're starting a little bit late because of technical problems, so I just decided to start all over. Sorry about that, those of you that were watching, and thank you so very much for letting me know that the sound was not working. If you're on Instagram, go ahead and feel free to ask me questions and leave comments and compliments on Instagram, but the other social medias, I can actually highlight your comments throughout the rest of those platforms and keep it family friendly as always, or I will not highlight them, and I'll always do my very best to answer your questions or, at least acknowledge you. And thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad to see all of our friends, family, and followers watching and learning something about animals as always. We brought you guys 3 different animal species to meet today. And I'm so sorry Ricky is not here today. He is actually hanging out with some other people. He's got obligations tonight and he's handling another aspect of the business behind the scenes tonight. So stay tuned for some fun videos that he's actually working on. But there's always something to do, of course. But I'm here and I brought some animals for you guys to meet, and we're going to have a regular show, back to the regular show that we usually do, which is usually 3 animals more or less to meet on the show, and we are live right now, and we will talk about them. And if you have any questions about the animals specifically, feel free to ask questions or leave comments or compliments down below, and I'll do my very best to address them. So thank you so much for being here. If you are not familiar with Once in a Wild, we are a mobile zoo, so that means we can bring our animals to you if you happen to be in our neck of the woods, which is South Texas. So we're in San Antonio, and anywhere around there within reason, we can actually bring in the animals to you for a program. That could be a show and tell animal presentation, that could be animal therapy, that could be a petting zoo, that could be a meet and greet or photo op, and lots of other options. Anything you can think of, we can try to work with your event or your class presentation or class, whatever you've got going on in your classroom, of course, your curriculums, etc., your birthday party, whatever you've got going on. Thank you for saying you love my shirt. It's our Fiesta Lotto shirt. Now, if you love our Once in a Wild designs, I highly recommend that you visit our website, onceinawild.com, and we have a shop on our website now where you can actually order some custom clothing and different items like little zipper bags and all sorts of things. You'll see all kinds of options over there on the website right now. If you go to our website and just find where it says shop, and then you can see all of the different merch that we can actually provide you guys. So it's got our designs on it, and an outside company actually makes those items. And let me know if you would like to see anything else, maybe that's not in the shop, or different designs, different animals, things like that. We're working on a whole bunch of different new designs coming up soon, and by we I mean Ricky and the design team, whomever he decides to work with. And so, yeah, you can actually have your own axolotl design items as well. We've got some of those already. So if you want to head over there and check out what we have, let me know if you are interested, and go ahead and order some stuff and let me know how it goes. If you ever have problems with any of that, it is new. It's a new shop. So just let us know and we will make that right for you. No problem. So yeah, and before I forget to mention, I usually try to mention all of this before we get started with the actual animal presentation portion of tonight's live stream. Oh, by the way, we can actually bring the zoo to you virtually through Zoom as well. So if you happen to live outside of our area, we can easily bring a animal program to you virtually, and we do that through Zoom. Those are still happening as well. A lot less than before. We did almost a straight year of all of that, as you might imagine, but we still offer that to you for people outside of our area. And we can travel usually about an hour, hour and a half outside of San Antonio. So you just let me know and we will try to make that work for you. Everything is custom, so I'll get you a quote, a price, everything else. Just let us know. And how can you reach us? Well, if you visit onceinawild.com, you'll see our contact number, or you can even ask for a quote, or you can, I'll get back to you, or you can ask for me to contact you. Those are a few choices that you have to contact. And also you can contact us on social media as well, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you choose. We always try to get back to you as soon as we can. Please keep in mind we're very busy, so we do our very best to reach out as soon as we possibly can. And also email is also good too. And on our website, onceinawild.com, you can actually chat with us on the website as well. So there's a few options there. It's always good when you own a business to have different options for everyone, because not everybody operates the same, right? So some people like to chat on websites, some people like to text, people like to call. That is okay. So people like email, and that is okay. And if you want to help us out, because we can always use the help, some ways that you can donate to Once in a Wild are visiting onceinawild.com/donate, of course, and you can see all of your options there. We've got PayPal, we've got Venmo, we've got Cash App, we've even got an Amazon wish list, which I need to update desperately, and I will try to remember to do that soon. I'm just so busy. And we also got our Patreon as well. And then other ways you can help is, of course, by purchasing your own animal encounter. That's the best way to help us out, because you get something in return. Or, of course, purchasing the merchandise, which we get a percentage of too, of course. That's another way you can help support us. But any of those things are much appreciated. But also we appreciate the free ways to help us out, which are easy things to do, like watching our videos like you're doing right now. You can watch the videos, you can share the videos, you can let everybody know about us and what we offer. And maybe we can help out your neighbor, your classmate, your teacher friends, people that you know that are having parties coming up, event coordinators, you name it, we can help them out. And really, Once in a Wild is for everyone. So we don't just have one type of animal. A lot of people specialize in like kind of one type of animal. We actually have a whole big variety for you to choose from. So we've got creepy crawlies like spiders and scorpions and bugs, and we've got furry animals like rabbits, guinea pigs, and hedgehogs, and we've even got birds like our owl and cockatiels and much more, ducks, and what else? We have lizards and snakes and tortoises, all kinds of animals on our list. So there's many, many more than that. And we always provide our list of animals, or we can surprise you with animals. I do that all the time too. Some people don't know what to choose. It's overwhelming sometimes, I guess, for some people, or they just want to be surprised and they kind of trust us with a variety of animals. We've been doing a lot of library animal encounters or animal shows, presentations, whatever you want to call it, over at the San Antonio Public Libraries. And we're actually going to be back at another library coming up very soon. So please stay tuned to our social media as well as our website, onceinawild.com. That will tell you where our public events are going to be always. We try to update that as soon as we can. We got a last minute booking with one of the San Antonio Public Libraries just today. This afternoon, just a few hours ago, they called us back and wanted us to do some more presentations, which is very flattering. And we thank you very much, San Antonio Public Libraries. Thank you. We are going to do another presentation on this Saturday, and I believe that's going to be at 10:30 a.m. And we will update you on which location. So I'm sure it's going to be on their websites as well. And we're hoping to do some more presentations with them very soon too. I guess they liked us that they're hiring us back, which is pretty flattering and very cool. Maya and Lily loved meeting your animals, Nicole. Where was that at, Nicole? One of the libraries or somewhere else? We go all over the place. And whenever it is a public event, whether free or ticketed, sometimes they're ticketed but still free, we will post that on our website and usually link the directions or information on the website too. So if you click on, just go to onceinawild.com, it'll be like right there on the homepage. You'll be able to see it. It's super obvious. There'll be like a button. And for whatever event, say it's the San Antonio Public Library central location. You'll click there and it'll take you to their link, and they'll tell you like the address and etc. and what to expect. And what we've been doing there lately at the San Antonio Public Libraries is 5 animal presentations. So we bring 5 animals, and usually I bring some of the same animals that I, kind of over and over again to the library, just because they're the animals that make sense. But every once in a while, there'll be different animals showing up to those presentations. So you never know. And even if you see the same animals each time, it may be a little bit different than last time, because of course there's going to be different audience questions. Animals behave differently every time. You may sit a little closer than the last time. So I, as a zoo going person, of course I love animals and going to zoos. I visit the same zoos over and over a lot, but it doesn't bother me because I kind of see something new every time, and I love taking photos of animals. So that appeals to me. So even if you've seen us before, and it's the same animals, you never know what those animals are going to do. They're alive and they might make different choices and things like that. So it's a lot of fun for everyone. And that's just one thing that we offer. We offer all kinds of different animal encounters. There's something for everyone. Hello, everyone. When you came to us. Of course, Nicole. Yes, of course, I know you. Sai, Maya is kind of a common name, but Maya and Lily, I'll never forget you now. Yeah, definitely. That was a really fun video that we made with you guys. If you guys want to check out our TikTok, and I think it's on YouTube and really everywhere, Instagram, we've got Maya and Lily and their parents. I think you're both maybe in the video too, at least partially in the video. And we made a really fun video all about Maya's story and her battle with cancer. And we're happy that she's doing better, right? I heard a good report on her, but we are more than happy to actually give you a really nice day with the animals. Yes, indeed. I wasn't sure who you were by your profile picture, because it doesn't show your face. So thank you so much for letting me know. And hello, everyone. It's so good to see you guys. It looks like some people are watching on Twitch. That is really good. Twitch is fairly new for us. If you want to follow us over on Twitch and I guess raid us, like Ricky says, and things like that, that's very helpful. Twitch is very new for me, so I apologize if I'm using the wrong words when it comes to what you guys do over on Twitch. I need to get into Twitch so I can know what the heck I'm talking about with that. But we are also all over the place tonight. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, of course, and Twitter and Twitch. And we do need some more followers. We're doing really well on Instagram, although we could always use some more. We're over 5,000 now on Instagram, and Facebook we've always done pretty well. But over on Twitch and YouTube, we need some help, and TikTok as well. TikTok we're doing pretty good too, but those 3, make sure and follow us and tell all your friends and family and everybody, classmates, teachers, whatever, that use those platforms. We need some more followers over there. That would be really cool. I do plan to go live more often on TikTok because I am way over 1,000, so I can go live over there, but I need to make it a habit to go live. I usually go live on Instagram for Once in a While Wednesday, just because we have more of an audience on Instagram than TikTok, but you never know. Maybe we'll blow up if I go live over there one of these Wednesdays. Maybe we'll experiment. I'll send you guys over there to TikTok. TikTok is actually my favorite. Your daughter uses Twitch, so Twitch might be her favorite. Everybody has their favorite. Hello, everybody. So let's go ahead and get started with our animals. I think I've covered just about everything to talk about. If I forget something, please let me know. I usually let you guys know how you can help us out, which there's free and not free ways to help us out, what we do in our animal programs, virtual and in person, and let you guys know about events coming up. So I think I covered everything, and I'm so sorry for the technical problems that we had at the beginning. Sometimes that happens. It's real life. So thank you for letting me know that the sound wasn't working, and I just switched it up. So I brought 3 animals for you guys to meet as I get all adjusted here and comfortable. Our first animal is actually my favorite animal in our entire collection. And if you guys know much about me, you know that I absolutely adore this type of animal, which not everybody likes just as much as I do. Isn't that right, buddy? So this here is actually, if I had to pick one animal in our entire collection, this would be it. And a lot of people think that I'm crazy, but this is Slytherin. He's a California kingsnake. And Slytherin is one of our kind of secondhand animals. You can call him a rescue if you want, but he's not really a true rescue. He actually had a home that he belonged to before. And what had happened was they had him for a long, long time, but then the child that turned into an adult went off to college. And I think that the family was just thinking like, he's such a special animal. And he really is. He's a very special California kingsnake. He has a great personality. personality for this kind of thing. I think they were just kind of thinking like, oh, he has a such a special demeanor that he really needs to go to like a teacher classroom or some sort of situation where he is an animal ambassador, if you will. And that's exactly what he is now. So I met this lady online and she was talking about selling him and this and that. And then eventually she just decided through our conversation just to give him to me. So he was an owner surrender. Again, much loved and very well taken care of before us. Not really a rescue per se, because he wasn't in danger or suffering in any way. That does happen sometimes to us. Sometimes we do rescue some of our animal, or other people have rescued them and then they get rehabilitated in some way, shape, or form, such as our opossums. Our opossums are a great example of that classic rehabilitation story where baby opossums are found in somebody's backyard or somewhere and they're too young to survive, and then a rehabilitation person, a rehabber, raises them up, and then they can't go back to the wild because usually they're way too tame after being raised like that. And we have two opossums, Alice and Cooper. They're not here tonight, but this guy is kind of like a hand-me-down animal, right? But she was so very happy that we could take good care of him because she knew how very special he is. And he certainly is. This is Slytherin, by the way, and he came with that name, if I didn't say his name already. He is definitely a very special personality for a king snake. If you know much about king snakes, in my opinion, in my experience with king snakes, you kind of get either or. Most king snakes are fine for handling, but not every king snake is trustworthy every single time for handling. He's about 95%, almost 100% trustworthy with handling. Now, he's still a king snake and he still has a big appetite, and that's what king snakes are known for. They can eat almost anything that fits into their mouth, and they even try to eat things that are bigger than that sometimes. And that's not their fault. That's just the way they are. They're tenacious eaters, especially if they haven't eaten in a while and they're ready to eat now. Then they're going to try to maybe eat your hand and things like that. Most king snakes are not really fearful of human handling once they get used to humans. Some babies are like that, but baby animals in general, if they're kind of wilder animals, are a little bit slow to pick up the rhythm of being handled and stuff like that. They sometimes are defensive. Not really aggressive. It's just defensive. They're scared. He's not scared at all, by the way. But some king snakes are scared, but then they get over that pretty fast, and then they decide that everything that wiggles in front of their face is food, because these guys eat almost anything. They're even cannibals. These guys will eat other snakes. That's what king snakes are known to do. It's why they get the name, the king snake. And this, of course, is the California king snake, which means he's a species found in California, of course, and they're found in other states too surrounding California. So not just in California exclusively, but that's where I guess they were named and / discovered by somebody anyway, and named so, right? But the California king snake has a really cool pattern. Some of my favorite animal patterns and colorations are black and white. My dogs are actually black and white. We have one schnauzer who's gray. He's like a salt and pepper schnauzer. It's hard to say. But we also have two border collies that are black and white. So my favorite color of most animals is black and white, like Boston Terriers and things like that. I just think it's a really attractive animal color. But when animals are naturally colored this way and not like bred into it, like a dog, right? Dogs are domesticated. This is a wild type animal, and this is how they look. Now, that being said, animals in human care, even snakes, can be bred for special colorations like albino and all sorts of crazy colors. This is the natural color they come in, and I'm just so impressed that an animal just naturally exists this color. Isn't that super special? His coloration is for a specific purpose. It's not really to blend into anything. This animal would rather stand out than blend in. That is their tactic. Now, I mentioned he's a snake that eats all kinds of different animals, but he is non-venomous. This is a non-venomous snake. This is what we call a colubrid. When we talk about snakes, there are different categories of, like, general categories of snakes. So we've got venomous snakes like vipers and elapids. Elapids are like cobras and coral snakes and stuff like that. Usually more slender-bodied snakes that are still venomous, but cobras are kind of a classic elapid. You've got all kinds of elapids out there in the world, but that's a good example of one. And then you've got animals like vipers, so like rattlesnakes, of course, and copperheads and things like that. Those are vipers. And then you've got animals that are, how about sea snakes? Sea snakes are another venomous type snake, a very different type, right? And then you've got non-venomous snakes like boas and pythons. Those are constricting snakes or constrictors, right? And then there's some snakes that are rear fang venomous, which are usually non-significant to humans. Animals that can even be pets sometimes, like hognose snakes. Hognose snakes have very, very mild venom that may make a person itch or irritable irritable or irritate. You might be irritable if you get bit by anything, but may make your skin irritated and maybe have a little bit of swelling, but it's not super medically significant to humans. But they do have rear fangs and are slightly venomous. But the hognose is kind of a strange one. And there's a couple others too. There's many others. But then there's kind of another section of snakes called colubrids. And really hognose are part of the colubrid section too, or grouping, if you will. And those are kind of like the leftover snakes. So you've got king snakes like him. You've got corn snakes, another one of my favorite species to keep and handle. You've got animals like the indigo snake, one of my very favorite snakes in the world. What are some other ones, Slytherin? You tell me. Some other colubrids. All kinds of different snakes. Rat snakes, of course. All kinds of stuff. So those are kind of like the leftover snakes that really kind of don't really have, an easy way to categorize. So they're just called colubrids. That's what we call them. But he's a colubrid. Definitely non-venomous. Not even rear fang venomous. But a very capable predator. However, he kind of has this pattern that makes him like stand out, and most animals when they see him may think twice before messing with him because he does have this very stark black and white pattern, and that is going to make animals kind of look at him and then think, ooh, that pattern looks a little odd. I don't usually see that pattern in nature. Usually animals want to blend into stuff, and when they stand out like that, it's typically a warning. Now, of course, it's not true. He is not venomous at all, so that can it's mimicry. Mimicry means that he's pretending. He's pretending to be something he's not. He's pretending to be venomous. Animals that also do that are like shrew mimickers, like, for example, butterflies. Some butterflies actually have eye spots on their wings, and it looks just like eyes. And that's going to hopefully trick their predators into thinking like, whoa, that's a big face with big eyeballs. Moths have that too, right? And then you've got some of the snakes also, similar to him. You've got like milk snakes and maybe a scarlet king snake that are non-venomous as well, just like he is, but they look kind of like a coral snake. And that is red and yellow and black sometimes, and sometimes other colors too. Did you know that the rhyme, so red and yellow, kill a fellow, red and black, friend of Jack, that actually doesn't apply to every single snake that looks like that. So please just be very careful. That rhyme applies a lot of the time, but if you go to any other countries, or if snakes are, they can be born different colors sometimes because, mutations can happen and things like that. So it's really a good idea to just kind of like leave them all alone unless you're some sort of expert, like a herpetologist, or maybe you're studying them for your biology degree or something like that. Maybe you're working with an expert out in the field, you're doing some herping, maybe you're an expert in some way, shape or form. You have a lot of experience. I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking to the average person. When you're using that rhyme in your head, you may be misidentifying a snake, and it's really best to just not pick them up at all. Coral snakes are actually the most toxic of all the snakes that we have here in the United States, where I'm from. I'm from Texas, right? However, coral snakes are typically not dangerous at all, even to your pets, because it's really hard for them to bite anything larger than a teeny tiny animal that they usually hunt. They usually hunt very, very small, tiny animals like lizards or small frogs, maybe tiny rodents, things like that. But their mouth is so tiny, even though they are toxic, it's hard for them to bite large beings such as us. So unless you're handling them or, stepping on them with your bare toes or something like that, you're really not in much of danger. So the best thing to do is just to look out for snakes in general. And by the way, coral snakes almost never kill anybody because it's hard for them to bite anybody. So it's not really anything to worry about that much. We just avoid them. If we see them, leave them alone. Give them some space. If you have pets outside, call your pets back inside. Keep your cats indoors anyway. We want to keep our pets indoors. If you have animals like chickens outside, definitely want to watch out for that, but you want to kind of snake proof and maybe clean up your yard, maybe snake proof the area that you have your chickens, and maybe just prevent that from happening in the first place, because even non-venomous snakes can harm chickens, right? So that's the whole different subject. But in general, snakes are not really that dangerous to humans. There's very few that are really any potential danger, and none of them, at least in the Americas, can harm you unless you touch them, right? There are some like spitting snakes, but that's super rare, and it only happens in other continents. So yes, this pattern is really cool. Do I like red racers? I like all snakes. So snakes in general are my favorite animals. He's my favorite individual snake that we currently have in our collection. Slytherin is his name, by the way, if you missed that. Slytherin, he came with that name. They had another snake, I think, named Salazar. And I'm not sure if they had him anymore at that time or if they had rehomed that one or something, or if he passed away. I have no idea. All I met was Slytherin from that household, and he came with the name, so I just kept the name. Did you know that snakes really don't have any ears, so they don't really know their names? He may feel the love. He may feel vibrations when I'm talking. He might be able to feel my vibrations if he's next to my body. I'm sure he can feel that. They do have internal ears, but it's debatable whether or not they hear at all. And if they do, it's very little. But certain tones, I'm sure they can feel with their bodies and things like that. But hearing is by far their least sensitive sense. Touch is there. Sight is there as well. Their sight is actually pretty limited. They have pretty blurry vision and they don't really see color at all, but their eyes are always open. So that helps them a little bit to kind of like sense the world around them through vision. But their best sense by far is going to be their sense of smell. But they don't smell with their nose. We smell with our nose, right? We smell and breathe at the same time through our nose. And he does breathe with his nostrils. He's got 2 of them, just like us. They're called nares when it comes to being a reptile. Nares are on reptiles and nares are on birds. The little holes that help them breathe. Fun fact as well, snakes do have 2 lungs, but one lung is very, very primitive and has basically shrunken down through evolution to being like a non-significant or operable lung / organ in their body. And only one lung actually functions inside of the snakes. They don't really need more than one. They have a very elongated body. They actually have every internal organ that we have, as far as I know, and it's just elongated inside their body and shaped different. But only one lung functions and the other lung is just kind of residual and doesn't do much of anything, kind of like our appendix. We don't really know what that's for. So it's just in there, left over from before. But they actually smell with their tongue. They have a forked tongue. Can you see it? He's got a forked tongue and he's using it all the time, as long as they're awake. And this is a very active species, by the way. These guys are quite active and move around a lot. That's partially why I love them so much. A lot of people like ball pythons and even boa constrictors. Those guys are kind of lazy, in my opinion, and that's fine. They're supposed to be like that. They're more what's the word? They like to reserve their energy and conserve their energy for striking and constricting. Most constrictors are more ambush predators than a kingsnake or any kind of colubrid. Most of those guys will actively hunt. They'll climb trees. They'll crawl around on the ground. They'll go in holes and look for food actively because they need to eat a little more often than a constrictor for the most part. When constrictors are babies, they're going to actively hunt a little bit more because they're trying to grow up fast, so they have less predators, because the smaller you are, the more predators. But most constrictors, when they reach a significant adult size or breeding size, they're pretty lazy and they just kind of hang out and wait for food to pass by for the most part. Unless they're really hungry, then they'll seek out food. But colubrids, like rat snakes and king snakes and lots of others, milk snakes and all kinds of snakes, they will climb trees. They'll look for baby birds and nests. They'll look for eggs. They'll look for other reptiles and amphibians in the water sometimes. And they'll, of course, look for rodents and all kinds of things to eat. So they are more active hunters. So they're more active in general. And he's a very active, kind of busy-bodied snake. He's not that bad. He's actually very well behaved for a king snake. That's why I love him so much. He's such a good handling snake. But he does stick his tongue out a lot, which is what I was trying to get to. When they stick their tongue out, you'll see that it's forked. It has 2 points on the end of their tongue, very similar to the antenna of an insect. The antenna of an insect typically will smell and feel, and some antenna, like moths, will actually hear for them. But most antenna on, say, like a cockroach, for example, they actually will smell and feel. That is actually really similar to a snake if you think about it. They have 2 points on the end of their tongue, and those little points can give them directional smell. Since they do not have traditional ears at all, they just have internal ears, they don't really hear directionally at all. They can feel vibrations with their body and sense sound that way, and maybe a little bit with their internal ears. But as far as directional sense, they can see a little bit with their eyes on the side a little bit. And but the points on their tongue are 2, right? It's forked. Fun fact, in the old days, forks had 2 points instead of 3 or 4 like we have now. So a forked tongue is what it's called. But the 2 points help him get a sense of direction with smell. And how they do smell is they have a very special organ on the roof of their mouth called a Jacobson's organ. And the Jacobson's organ is basically like a little computer that sends information to their brain. It can tell them all kinds of information that we don't even know about smell. Lots of animals actually have a Jacobson's organ. Even cats have them. But a snake uses it in a different way than a cat. They have the special tongue that comes out and then goes back in and actually tickles the roof of their mouth and gives scents that they've collected on the tip of their tongue straight to that little Jacobson's organ. It's kind of like a pocket on the roof of their mouth. And that tells the brain exactly what they need to know about what's going on around them. That is mostly how they hunt, especially for colubrids, because colubrids don't have any heat pits. Some snakes that have heat pits are rattlesnakes and other pit vipers. You've heard the term pit viper. That's actually what that means. They have little holes on the front of their face. These guys don't have that. Pythons actually have that as well. And there's a couple of tree-dwelling boas that have that too. And there might be more that I just can't remember right now off the top of my head because this is live and I'm under pressure. But these guys don't have any heat pits on their lips at all, called labial heat pits. These guys do have nostrils. They have their eyes to see. Their eyes are never shutting. They actually do have spectacle scales or special kind of clear scales right over their eyes. And that helps them to protect their eyes. And they never have to blink. Therefore, you will never win a staring contest with Slytherin or any other snake. That is fun. But they do have their vision. They have their sense of touch. And they have their, well, what else was I talking about? What else do you have? You have nostrils just for breathing, but that tongue is going to be how they mostly navigate their space and find their food. And that is very sensitive. A snake's sense of smell is amazing. They actually get a ton of information that we would get just by looking around and not even thinking about our world around us. We just kind of take in the whole world by eyesight and by hearing too. And we kind of take it for granted, right? They're the same way with their sense of smell. But it's with the tongue. Aren't they amazing? Now, of course, snakes, once they find their food, they grab onto it. This is not a constrictor. Although he may use his body to wrap around a little bit, he's not a true constrictor. He's not going to use his powerful squishing muscles like a boa constrictor or a python would traditionally use, right? Boas and pythons always constrict when they're eating something because they need to make sure that animal is not going to get away, and that is how they do. They will squeeze them. Colubrids, usually not the case, especially if it's something pretty small. Say he is going after a frog and it's a small frog. He's going to grab it and just start chomping down and eating it whole. Like any other snake, he's not going to chew his food. He's just going to eat it whole. And his teeth are pretty insignificant to speak of. He does have very tiny teeth and he's got many, many of them. They are kind of like little Velcro type teeth that are pointed backwards, but they're designed to stick onto things and not let go. And then he can swallow food whole because they do have a specialized jaw, which has like a gap in between, especially their bottom part of the jaw right here. Or right here, they have a big space, and therefore the bones can actually spread apart and open up sideways like this, like two doors opening this way. And of course, snakes can also open their mouth very, very wide right here and eat something about 3 to 5 times the size of their head, depending on the shape of the animal they're eating and also the size of the snake, of course. So boas and pythons can typically eat something really, really extra large, and they don't eat as often. These guys have skinnier bodies, so they eat a little bit smaller food items, but still about 3 times the size of their head. Still very, very impressive for an animal. And then these guys like to eat about once or twice a week in the wild, maybe every other week, or maybe if they're in shed, they won't eat that week, and then they'll just skip and kind of make up for it. And of course, in the wild, they're going to get what they get, and that's about it. In human care, these guys eat about once a week. That's actually really good for them. We just make sure and give them enough once a week, and that's plenty. When they're babies, they may want to eat about twice a week, though. All right. Hello, hello. I'm just checking on comments really quick. Let me see Instagram if you have any. Cool. Thank you for saying he's cool. Slytherin is one of my favorites. He is just a very, very special king snake. Not all king snakes are this handleable. Though king snakes are not dangerous to humans, some of them do try to bite and some of them do try to eat you. Even though you're way too big to be eaten, they might try to eat your fingers and things like that. Anacondas are in the boa family. Yes, indeed. Yes, they are. So anacondas and other boa constrictors are actually live bearers. That's one thing that they all share in common for the boas. Boas will give live birth and pythons will lay eggs. That is a fun fact. Did I get a new mic? I did have a new mic, but I actually got rid of the new mic for this presentation because the mic was not working. Thank you that it sounds good, though, with the old mic. I'm glad it sounds good. Thank you for saying that. You like coach whips? Coach whips are really cool. I've actually owned one coach whip in my life, and I've worked with several other ones. They're really fast, and they have really, really long, beautiful whip-like bodies, of course. Red racers. Yeah, yes, Slytherin. Yeah, he is so cute. Pattern is really cool. Thank you. Monitor lizards also have forked tongues. That is very true. Several types of lizards have forked tongues, including the Gila monster, Mexican beaded lizard, which are both a venomous species, right? And then we've got animals like tegus and monitors that have bigger tongues than the snake, although a monitor lizard has a skinnier tongue than a tegu. But all those lizards that I just listed have forked tongues and Jacobson's organs to navigate and sense smells. How interesting that you would say that. So rat snakes and corn snakes aren't true constrictors. I know they do constrict sometimes. That doesn't mean that they don't constrict, but they're not considered to be in the constrictor kind of grouping. So when we categorize snakes, I didn't mean to confuse you, but we've got colubrids, which are rat snakes, king snakes, corn snakes, hognose, all kinds of things. Some individuals may wrap around their food, but they're not going to be like a boa or a python where they have like so much muscle power to where it's just like, so it's just a little bit different. But they still might use constriction. My corn snake is really good at wrapping around her food, but she doesn't wrap around for as long or nearly as strong as my boa constrictor and ball pythons do. Yes, yes, yes. And I was just letting you know what a colubrid was for the average viewer. A colubrid might be a weird word. I was just trying to explain what that means. Colubrids are like all different kind of leftover, usually slender bodied, but there's some exceptions like hognose. Hognose don't really have slender bodies, do they? And even some boas are actually pretty small, like sand boas or all kinds of things, right? There's different sizes for each category. That doesn't mean that they're big. A lot of people assume that every type of constrictor or boa and python, whatever, is actually a large species. That's not really the case. You've got sand boas, which are pretty tiny. You've got, I mean, even you know, everybody starts small, but there's like spotted pythons. Those guys are really small too. Yes, yes, yes. I hope you guys have had a good week since last week. Sorry, Ricky's not here today. He's got other obligations tonight. And so he's taking care of some new media that we're going to be posting very soon. So stay tuned. We're always trying to come up with new ideas to give you guys some fun posts and things. Now, it's funny that you should mention lizard tongue because they have a lizard for you guys to meet. Would you like to meet the lizard next? Now, before we say goodbye to Slytherin, we love him very much. He is one of my very favorites to take to in-person animal encounters. You can actually hold Slytherin if you visit one of our encounters. He's very sweet with almost everybody. And we always make sure that you're comfortable first with handling snakes. But he's actually one that we would take to help you conquer your fear of snakes. He is perfectly harmless and he's almost a perfect angel all the time. Like I said, about 95% of the time, unless he's just feeling like kind of on the hungry side, and he'll let me know immediately if he's in one of those kind of moods. He's very, very easy to read. But once he goes on programs, he's typically fine, 100%. And he is great to handle. You can certainly touch him while I help you touch him. And he is so much fun to see in person. He's just gorgeous. Remember, the pattern is actually kind of a warning pattern for other animals because he is a predator. Of course, all snakes are predators. They're not salad eaters. They're predators. But hey, but they shout out to Mercedes. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, Mercedes over at Busy Bee Bakery. Hello, Harmonica 87. Good to see you. I am so glad that you are watching. I didn't realize that was you until now. Hello, Justin. But anyway, hello. But what was I saying? Oh, this pattern is going to help him to actually fend off predators. And since he is a predator, kind of in between the food chain. He is a predator, but not a top predator. This is about as big as they ever get. Let me show you his full size. They are not a tiny snake, but definitely not a very big snake either, right? This is about as big as he's ever going to get. And he certainly does have predators that could eat him in the wild. Really, any larger predator you can think of may try to eat a snake. I mean, birds of prey, canids, and felids, which are cats and dogs to you. What else? Foxes, all kinds of things might eat you in the wild. Luckily, you live in human care where you don't have to worry about anything whatsoever. We're going to take our very best care of you, feed you all the time, whenever you need it, and take good care of you if you need to go to the vet. Anything at all, Slytherin, you will get it, okay? You're one of our favorites. You're definitely my favorite. But this pattern in the wild can spook away their enemies. They can actually maybe make them think twice about eating them because they have a strange pattern. This pattern isn't always seen in nature. Maybe zebras have it. Zebras actually use their pattern for deterring flies is what I'm trying to say. Flies and mosquitoes and things. They won't get bitten by bugs as often. That is actually the newest discovered reason why zebras have stripes. It actually hurts the bug's eyes. So if you wear like plaid or stripes that are kind of crazy looking outside in the summer, you will get less mosquito bites. Did you know that? But for this snake, his pattern is more stark. So it's going to warn his predators to stay away because he may be venomous, but he's not. So it's called mimicry. No, snakes don't have any hair. I'm very excited for the content coming up with Busy Bee Bakery. That's a super cute name. Okay, Slytherin, you did a great job. Not everybody loves snakes as much as us, and we understand. If you need help conquering your fear of snakes, we're here to help you. We do animal therapy sessions for exposure therapy, and we actually have one more creepy crawly tonight that I'm going to bring out to show you how cool they are too. Another feared animal sometimes. But we do want to remind you guys, if you see a snake in the wild, unless you're an expert of some kind or a student studying herpetology and you're working with experts, we want to leave those animals alone, always. If you see a turtle or tortoise that needs rescuing, that is one animal I usually let people know it's okay to rescue, especially if they're in the road, crossing the road. We want to make sure not to get bitten, so you want to hold them way away from their neck and head because a lot of turtles can turn their neck pretty far. Please don't do this if you are a child, but if you're an adult, you're more than welcome to help turtles and tortoises cross the road. You always want to help them in the direction they're going because they'll just turn right back around and come right back across the road. They have some sort of mission or purpose, so they know where they're going. They just need help crossing the road. Mostly tortoises because turtles are pretty fast. They can still get hit, but we want to be careful in the road, right? Don't get hit yourself. But also we don't want to get bitten. Tortoises, I'm not super worried about you guys getting bitten. You can probably stay away from their bites. They're pretty slow and also not as aggressive as a turtle. Just be careful. But turtles, you may want to either use gloves or hold them way back behind where they can't reach, or you can wrap them in a towel or blanket and just help them across the road. I've done that several times with turtles before. Snakes, we don't really want to touch or pick up unless you're an expert. Just be very, very careful because some snakes definitely can bite because they're afraid of you, and some snakes are venomous and significant to humans. But no snake is dangerous unless you're messing with them or scaring them, right? And if you have a snake in your own property or house, we want to call a professional to help you out to remove that snake. If you ever need help with identifying any type of wildlife in your own backyard, feel free to give me a message on social media, or you can even text us a picture of the animal and we will help you identify it. Most of the time, it's going to be something harmless, I promise. And I'll let you know if it's not. Viviana says, yes, up in North Texas, I saw a lot of turtles in the road. Yes, indeed. Here's a great question. What's the difference between turtles and tortoises? Tortoises are land dwelling only. They do not swim. Tortoises will have a heavier body no matter what the size. They'll be heavier than a turtle always. Even if they're tiny ones, they're going to be more dense and heavy, so they can't float or swim. They also have tree trunk-like legs instead of web feet or flippers. And turtles actually are a lot faster because they're usually omnivores or even carnivores sometimes. So turtles eat other animals sometimes or eat other animals exclusively, like the snapping turtle, although snapping turtles are technically omnivores too, but I digress. Turtles eat meat in some capacity, so they're faster and they can snap and bite very hard. Tortoises typically just eat grass, leaves, and plants, so they're not really going to be as fast, and they can't swim. That's a big, big difference. So swimming ability, diet, and the way their legs and body is shaped, and the weight of them. The turtles are designed more streamlined, of course, for swimming, and a lot lighter for swimming. Good question. All right. Yes, so if you know what you're doing with herping, that is much, much different than the general audience. We want to make sure people stay safe. So if you're an expert, that's okay, and you know what you're doing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and let Slytherin go back and rest. He has been a beautiful animal ambassador. Even if you don't like snakes, we just ask that you do not harm them. I'm sure you guys are not going to harm snakes, right? You promise. We definitely want to tell our neighbors and friends to do the same, and to make sure that we leave wildlife alone unless you are some sort of expert, right? That's very important to us to make sure you know that. Okay, I think because we mentioned a snake-like tongue in the mouth of a lizard, why don't we meet another lizard with a forked tongue and actually in the same color scheme as black and white like Slytherin. Bye, Slytherin. Thank you for saying goodbye. And you're welcome. I love your question. Please don't ever stop asking questions. It helps me to prompt into different things to talk about. And, you know, it helps me to, even if you stump me with a question, you can improve my knowledge by encouraging me to look facts up, right? So that is one of my favorite parts about the job. So let's go ahead and meet a lizard next that happens to be black and white, just like Slytherin. This is going to be an animal not found in the United States, but in the Americas still. So we're in this side of the world still. But this is actually an animal found in Colombia with a forked tongue, but it's not a snake. This is a Colombian Black and white Tegu. This animal is not usually seen that often in the pet trade or in human care. Most of the time you'll see the Argentine or Argentine Tegu. It's a Tegu! Her name is Lulu, by the way. She is black and white. A lot of times you'll see gold Tegus as well. Colombian gold Tegus, but this is a Colombian black and white Tegu. She's actually one of our other kind of rescue animals, and she is a true rescue. This animal was actually found roaming around in the streets of Dallas in a neighborhood where she doesn't belong. They are from Colombia in the wild, but sometimes they end up as people's pets, whether they buy them at the pet store, get them from a breeder. I have no idea where they got her because we have no idea who she belonged to in the first place. She was about half this size when she was found roaming around the neighborhood that she was found in Dallas, and animal control was called in order for them to catch her up. And that's that. So they were able to bring her to the shelter. And then through the grapevine, I was able to hear about her, and they offered her to me. And I said, sure, I'll come and get her. They described her as an Argentine black and white Tegu because most people don't know what a Colombian Tegu is. And as a baby, it was really hard to tell anyway what exact species she was. But now we know what she is because there's several ways to tell. There's different striping on their face, and also the size is pretty significantly different. Lulu's been with us. How long have you been with us now, Lulu? Maybe like 5 years. So she should be a lot bigger than this if she were an Argentine. That's just one way to tell the difference. She is a girl. She does not have fat cheeks like a male Tegu would have. If I bring her more to the front of the camera, you'll see her cheeks are pretty streamlined. If you've ever seen a male kind of adult male, black and white Tegu, red Tegu, any of those, even Colombian or Argentine, they usually have big fat cheek deposits on the side of their head. She still has some fat, but not nearly as big as a male. Now look at her tongue. She has kind of a forked tongue, just like the snake. Looks a lot different though, doesn't it? I'm gonna see if she's in focus here. It's a little bit bigger and wider, and it's also pink. Some snakes do have pink or red tongues, but not quite as bubblegum pink as Lulu's tongue. One of my favorite things about the Tegu. They do have a Jacobson's organ, like many animals have. Most lizards have that too. But she's got a forked tongue to give her a sense of direction with the sense of smell. She does also have the sense of taste in her mouth and tongue. Unlike the snake, snakes really don't have much of a sense of taste inside their mouth, maybe a little bit, but mostly smell with the snake, right? And she does have ears, unlike the snake, and she does have eyelids, unlike the snake. And of course, this type of lizard has legs, but there are such things, legless lizards, believe it or not. There's some right here in the United States called glass lizards or legless lizards. They're related to skinks, but Tegus do have legs, like most lizards do. And you can easily tell that she is a lizard and not a snake. Now, she's got a beautiful black and white pattern, but hers is more a camouflage pattern. It doesn't stand out as much as Slytherin's kind of like stark banding that he has. She's got a little bit of that on her face, but most of the time this is going to be used for camouflage. Now, Tegus are typically born a little bit different coloration when they're hatched out of their eggs, because they come from eggs. Not all lizards come from eggs, but Tegus do. When they're hatched out of the eggs, they might be a little bit different in color. They might be slightly green, slightly yellowish green sometimes, and they have more of a pattern that would help them hide. And as they get bigger, some of them turn black and white like this. Some of them are red. It just depends on which Tegu we're talking about. Tegus can definitely move fast. They're not as fast as like an iguana or a skink. Most skinks, smaller skink species and things. Tegus can move fast when they want to, but sometimes they're kind of lazy. But Tegus are very, very smart. When they want to move fast a little bit, they can move fast to catch food or get away from things. Oh my gosh! And when she was caught in the neighborhood, she was moving super fast. So I'm sure people were really scared of her. And Tegus can bite, especially from the wild or when outside for a long time and they're scared and things like that. That's one way they can defend themselves, is by running off, hiding, right, or biting. They have actually pretty strong bites when they want to. They're not really known to be big biters. They're actually pretty gentle lizards with humans once they get to know you. Colombians are a little more bitey than Argentines, but she doesn't bite. She's actually really good. When we first got her, she was a little bit more sassy, but she just took some training. But they're extremely smart, so they actually learn pretty fast what they can get away with. Like right now, she's trying to get down. What they can get away with, and if they can trust you and things like that. You never ever want to grab them and hold them still and hold them around the neck or act threatening in any way. You just want to be very, very gentle and patient with them. And if they act like they want to get down, you just kind of like let them walk on your hands and stuff like that. And that's how you train them to be handleable. Now you'll notice, can you see her tail? Her tail halfway down is white. She actually lost part of her tail during that catch up when she was found in the neighborhood. When animal control caught her up, she dropped her tail. That's actually a way to stay safe for a lot of lizards too. So she can bite, she can run away or hide, and she has tail autonomy, which a lot of lizards have. So tail autonomy is where kind of at the segments of their spine on the tail, they have areas where the tail can just drop right off. Some lizards, like crested geckos, for example, can just drop their tail off without even being touched. They just get scared enough and their tail just flies right off. They're kind of notorious for that. But most lizards, a predator would have to grab them, or they would have to bang into something during a frenzy or something like that to actually come off. It usually takes some sort of pressure or significant reason to do that. But that actually works pretty well for most lizards, especially geckos and anoles, like smaller lizards like that. Or this type of lizard when they're babies, because after all, they're not the size when they're hatched out. They're pretty tiny. So especially when tiny, that's going to help them be safe because their tail can pop off. It actually keeps moving because nerves are firing off and wiggling the tail around. So that encourages the predator that's trying to maybe eat them or animal control. I wonder what they thought of that crazy tail. To eat the tail kind of looks like a wiggle worm or a snake, and they can eat that. And then the lizard itself, the rest of the body can get away, and then eventually they regrow their tail. So see how the tail is like a different color? It used to be completely white. Now it's getting some spots. So I'm hoping eventually it'll kind of blend in with the rest of her tail. But we like the way her tail looks. It's kind of special to her. I've actually seen a lot of tegus regrow their tail and it's solid black. I've never seen one solid white, so that's kind of fun. But it actually took about 6 to 8 months to grow back. I think it was around 7 months for her. Oh my goodness, she's going all crazy again. So she's very smart. So sometimes they'll try to get away with jumping out of your hands. We're definitely not going to let that happen, because if I let that happen, she's just going to try it every single time. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. And they're very smart. You can actually talk to them almost like a dog, and they understand. So she's just trying to be sassy, and we are not going to be sassy tonight. She almost does this every single time in the live stream. I think it's just because she's under all these lights. So she's like, man, I want to just get down, maybe sunbathe a little bit, maybe go get a snack, just get away from the fame, maybe. But see, she settles down pretty well. You should have seen her when we first adopted her from the shelter. I really took a chance on a Tegu I have never met. I was like, sure, I'll take her. And then we go from there. I used to handle her with gloves for a little while just to make sure I didn't get bitten and things like that, because she used to gape her mouth open and, you know, really flail around. But with a lot of patience, as you can see, she's not trying to bite me or anything like that. It's been many years ago that she used to act like that. She's turned around pretty well. Now she's a pretty good animal ambassador. A lot of people really like to see her. And they say, wow, that's such a cool looking lizard. A lot of people think that she's a Gila monster when I bring her out. Slimier. Are tegus slimier than other lizards? They're not slimy at all. They're just really smooth. So tegus kind of have a texture that to me that feels like a basketball on their main top of the body right here, and the top, kind of the base of the tail here. So they kind of have like a smooth but a little bit bumpy texture. It's not super bumpy like a basketball, but it's really, really close. It's more like a football, actually. And then their belly is really, really smooth. So they're as smooth as like the kingsnake is. I know you're not touching her now. See her beautiful belly? She has a really pretty belly and very, very smooth, but not slimy at all. So what would make them slimy is actually having like a slime coat that would come off on your fingers and things like that. These guys have no mucus, no slime coat, nothing like that. Have you guys ever seen, what's that movie? Princess and the Frog, the Disney movie? It's not slime, it's mucus. But these guys don't have either one of those. That is an amphibian thing. And also some other animals too, like slugs and things like that. These guys aren't slimy at all. They're actually very dry. Just very, very shiny. Oh, I'm so glad that you were able to rescue some lizards over in South Florida. Is that where you live now? I love Florida. I used to live in Florida. I didn't live in South Florida, but I lived in Gainesville for school, and I really liked it. I love the weather because it's usually warm and it rains every day, so it waters the plants. Yes, tegus can move fast sometimes. How many eggs do they have? I can't remember. So tegus, I forget how big their clutch size is. I think it just depends. Maybe somebody out there knows how many eggs a tegu would lay. I've never bred them. It's something for me to look up. So thank you for helping me learn more new things. Are you going to sleep, Lulu? She's shutting her one eye on my side. I think she just doesn't want to look at me. But they do lay eggs. They lay clutches of eggs for sure. I just forget how many. That's a great question. They also eat eggs. So these guys are big egg eaters. They're actually omnivores, which means they eat both meats and plants. Some of their favorite plants to eat are fruits. They'll eat things like bananas and papayas and all kinds of fruit that fall from the trees in South America, where they're from. There's different kinds of tegus in South America, and all sorts of tegus eat fruit and other animals, and they're typically scavengers. They might scavenge on plants like fruit, but they might scavenge on dead animals or eggs as well. And they can also catch small animals to eat too. They can move fast sometimes, but they're not as fast as some other predators, so they typically will be scavengers, and they're not picky eaters at all. They're kind of like little piggies. That's where they get in trouble as a feral animal or a invasive species down in South Florida. For example, Argentine tegus and iguanas too, but Argentine tegus to me are almost a little bit worse because Argentine tegus, or tegus in general, eat other animals. So they might eat other animals that live in Florida. They might eat eggs of crocodiles and alligators down in Florida, things like that. So that's not good. You live in North Florida now. Thank you for specifying. I love Florida in general. I'd like to go back to Florida, maybe Disney World, and visit again soon. That's a great question. So again, another definitely a rescue animal. We did not plan on getting a tegu. She just kind of happened to us. Our monitor lizard is also like that. He's not with us tonight on the show. Maybe he'll come back next show. Do you know the monitor lizard? It's a savanna monitor. That savanna monitor was found roaming around in a field somewhere in North Texas where they don't belong. Probably somebody's pet. If you ever have an exotic or even domesticated pet that you can no longer care for, if you decided to give up, the best thing you can do is find them an appropriate home that's going to take care of them. And that's exactly what some people do. And some people do the wrong thing, which is letting them go. Or for all we know, they could have escaped. That happens too, because remember, these guys are extremely intelligent. Did you know that tegus have the intelligence of almost like a dog? Of course, they're very different animals. But a lot of tegu keepers and owners actually do claim that their tegus are extremely smart and can really learn what you're talking about. They definitely know when it's feeding time. They can sense it, but also they can basically, what's the word? They can associate different behaviors that you're doing to know that it's food time. They're extremely smart. But then again, most lizards are pretty smart too. Snakes are pretty instinctive. They're not as smart as lizards in my opinion, and most people know that. They keep them. But snakes are actually my favorite because they're a little less smart. They're a little easier to take care of and things. All right. So her favorite food is actually eggs, but really anything. She'll eat almost anything. And tegus are pretty easy to feed. That's one easy aspect of them. But tegus are a pretty advanced pet reptile in my opinion. So as far as a pet, I don't really recommend them for most people just because they are significant in size. They can potentially bite, and their bite can be really bad when they want to bite. Although when you get a tame one, they usually almost never bite. And it's mostly for them though. So taking good care of them, giving them lots of enrichment or things to do, enough space, of course, or if they don't have enough space, you take them out a lot and give them exercise or bring them places like we do. And the proper feeding, of course, lots of training because we want to make sure they stay handleable, etc. And proper lighting, proper heat, all the good things that come with any pet reptile, right? Not every pet reptile needs lighting, but tegus do, for sure. This again is Lulu. She's a Colombian black and white tegu. She is one of our kind of rescue animals. We were just talking about her story. Each and every lizard and animal that we have has their own story of how we got them or where we obtained them. Some of our animals came from reputable breeders and things like that, and some we actually had before Once in a Wild even opened. We had Lulu before Once in a Wild opened, but we had the intention of opening up Once in a Wild right before we got her. But she was definitely an animal that was a rescue and not one that we really looked for or anything like that. Yes, they are. They are the smartest. To you, monitor lizards, iguanas, and tegus are the smartest. I agree. I would definitely agree with you. I think they're all smart. Our bearded dragons are really smart too, but they're just on a different kind of level when it comes to being smart, I think, with tegus and monitors. You can almost talk to them and they know exactly what you're saying. And I think bearded dragons, for example, are just a lot more mellow. So that's probably why they seem a little less smart. But who knows? They could just be as smart. We just don't understand them as well. Okay, Lulu, you're being really good. I kind of want to reward her good behavior and let her go back down. She's being really good. This is exactly what I would want, is for her to be calm. And so we'll reward her by letting her get down. And that actually works really well. That's a good repetitive kind of training tactic that we use with a lot of our animals, really. So some animals, it's really convenient or makes sense to reward them with food while they're working. For example, last time we were on the show, when I had Ricky on the show, we had one of our ferrets, Thor, on the live stream. And he does best when you kind of constantly feed him for holding. Otherwise, he's just going to jump right out of your hands or try to, run around. So that's an animal that makes sense to kind of feed. Our birds are like that too. For example, I had Sunny, one of our cockatiels, at a in-person animal encounter today. And we kind of feed her constantly, or at least hold her and talk to her the whole time. Kind of have to work with their attention span. But for example, a snake, it doesn't make any sense to feed them during a program because we, number one, don't want to have the scent of rodents around or anything that they eat, which for king snakes is like every animal that they can try to eat. So we try to have at least the least amount of smells. So we typically hand sanitize before holding the king snake or any snake, really. That way we don't smell like anything that's their food. And we certainly don't want food around or out of a container, etc. Meat food, I mean. And for the Tegu too, I think if we brought food out, she would be a little bit more cantankerous or food motivated. So she probably would be a little more aggressive or hard to handle. So we don't really feed them. But for animals like that, a lot of times the most rewarding thing is to go away and rest. Maybe get a break. She wanted to get down, so I let her down when she was behaving the way I wanted. That's called positive reinforcement. But reinforcement doesn't always mean food or a treat or something like that, or a toy. It could just be getting left alone for a little bit. Maybe I'm leaving her alone, and that's her reinforcement. And that's actually, would that be negative reinforcement? Negative means taking away, so I guess I'm taking myself away and putting her down. Well, or positive being going back into her crate to be able to rest. These guys are a diurnal species. The Tegus are diurnal, so that means they're active in the day. So she's probably ready to go to sleep anyway. So maybe just going under her blanket, maybe that's her positive reinforcement. But anyway, there's different ways to reward animal. So our final animal of the night, before I get to that, I'm going to remind everybody who I am. Hello, my name is Amanda, and this is Once in a Wild Wednesday. Once in a Wild is our mobile zoo company based in San Antonio, Texas. We can bring animals that you've seen tonight. We had one of our snakes, and we had a lizard just on the show. If you missed them, you can rewatch the show after we upload it to all the platforms. You can rewatch it on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram too, if it lets me save it this time. Hopefully so. And you can rewatch the beginning of the show that you missed if you missed it. Those are the two animals we had. We had a kingsnake and we had a tegu lizard. And we're about to bring one more animal out. But if you want to meet any of those animals in person, you can, or I can give you the entire list. We've got birds, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates to meet in our collection at Once in a While. You can pick the animals that you want to meet virtually or in person, whichever suits you best. So you let me know if you're interested in any of that. And if you want to help us out for free, you can follow us on all of our social media. We're all over the place. If you like it, we're probably on it, including TikTok as well. Just search for Once in a Wild or Once in a Wild Zoo. All those links are in the descriptions down below as well, and in our bio description on Instagram and on our website as well. Those are some free ways you can help us out. You can like the videos, follow us. You can, of course, subscribe YouTube. You can comment and leave me some compliments. That's really, really great way. You can tell your family and friends that you think love animals all about us, whether to watch us virtually or meet us in person. That also helps us out by word of mouth. You can leave us a review over on Google. You can leave us a 5-star review if you're happy with what you see today, or if you're happy with an animal encounter that you had. That's a great way to help us out. Or some non-free ways, or you can buy merch from our website. We've got all kinds of things from stickers all the way up to hoodies and all kinds of merch with our fun animal designs on there and support us that way. Or you can donate a amount of your choosing to any of our options there, like Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and Amazon wishlist. Thank you so much. I think that covers everything. That's a lot to say. Let's go ahead and meet our final animal of the night. Since we've been meeting nothing but black and white animals, I brought one more kind of black and white animal, more or less. He's in this similar color scheme, and that happens to be a beautiful tarantula, everybody's favorite animal. Not everybody is into tarantulas, but I love them. And this is actually one that we don't usually bring on the show. So you're going to wish me the best of luck with this very skittish tarantula. It is definitely not a dangerous animal at all, so don't worry. I'm more worried about this being a blooper than me getting hurt or anything like that. This is going to be our Costa Rican Stripey tarantula, a very harmless species to humans. And by the way, no tarantulas are deadly to humans, but some tarantula venom is more painful than others, just like bee stings, hornet stings, things like that. There are tarantulas that can definitely cause some pain there, but no tarantulas are deadly. So I will be fine for those of you that are new to me handling tarantulas. I feel very confident handling this animal, but I want to make sure they're not running away and causing a blooper reel moment. So let's see how they behave. This is Desi. Desi is, we think, a male, most likely male, showing some male features. It's actually pretty easy to tell the difference between a male and female tarantula once they're mature. And unfortunately, the males don't live as long as the females. So I'm hoping that Desi is not a male. Not because I don't love him, more or less for being male or female, but because males live a lot less than females in years. Females can live a long time for a tarantula. Some can live into their 30s or more. And then males typically live maybe 2 to 5, maybe 6 at the very most. See that? I told you. So I think it's my breath. Sorry, guys. I promise I brush my teeth, but I'm talking about the wind of my breath because tarantulas are extremely sensitive. I don't hold my breath. There we go. He doesn't scare me at all. I just want to make sure you guys are not scared and that I don't harm the tarantula or lose him. So let's see if he maybe wants to go onto the surface. Maybe that will be better for all of us. Can you go a little bit further? Your little sticky toes are sticking to my hand. Can you see him? Maybe this will be better. I'm going to try to stay away from the range where I don't breathe on him. The tarantulas are covered in little hairs. Did you see him go crazy there? He was just trying to get away. So tarantulas are covered in little bitty hairs, and that makes them extremely sensitive to touch, including the wind of my voice and things like that. I think this will be better. So this is Desi, a Costa Rican stripe-knee tarantula. Again, not a dangerous animal at all to humans. Please don't be scared. We're just a little skittish and we're still practicing being an animal ambassador, but now we're doing better. Costa Rican stripe-knee tarantulas are for the most part terrestrial, but they're a lot lighter bodied than say like a, like a red-knee tarantula, a rose hair tarantula, or even Arizona blonde tarantula, like our friend Blondie that comes on the show all the time. They're not arboreal either, truly arboreal like the pink toe tarantula or some of the other ones that you've met on the show before. This is kind of like in between. They have a lighter weight body, so they can climb a little bit, but they're not really known for climbing. But they're not nearly as clumsy or fragile as like Blondie, the Arizona blonde that comes on the show all the time. She's a lot heavier, so for her to climb around and act like a crazy person, that would have been a lot more dangerous for that specific species than this one. This one can actually do a little bit of that and be just fine. So don't you worry. He is okay. Those of you that are familiar with tarantula, he is okay. Also, underneath, I know not everybody can see. You can see on Instagram, we've got a padded surface below. So he is okay. He also was climbing all over my shirt. So back to the species. This is a Costa Rican striped-knee tarantula from Costa Rica, of course, and surrounding area. They are also sometimes called the skeleton leg tarantula, and I don't know if that's truly what they're called or if that's a different species, but I know it's at least a similar species. Yeah, pretty big. Pretty good. No, I'm not going to do an elk call. And that is a high-pitched squeal. I will describe it. How about that? An elk call, I don't know what that has to do with anything, but you asked and I'm going to tell you. Can you describe an elk call to someone who hasn't heard it? A high-pitched squeal. Now that is just one sound that elks do during the mating season, actually. But back to this animal. This animal is a Costa Rican striped-knee tarantula. Of course, a big spider. Spiders have 8 legs and 2 arms. The 2 little arms right there in the front are called pedipalps, which are short versions of the legs, and they're really just arms. They can use them for grabbing onto food and bringing food into the area where they have fangs. These guys do have pretty big fangs, but they are, again, non-significant in venom to a person. In fact, this tarantula almost never bites people. They only bite their food. As you saw, he was trying to get away. That's their main tactic to stay safe. This animal could also use their hairs to fling at scary animals like people or predators, and could potentially irritate you with their hairs. A lot of tarantulas use that tactic as well, but this tarantula likes to hide and run away. That's their main tactic to stay safe. What else? But they do have their fangs, and that's what helps them to deliver venom to their food, of course. Their venom is mostly to paralyze and incapacitate their food, which could be things like crickets or roaches. This animal is a very good eater. As you can see, he hasn't missed many meals. He's a great big guy. And they do bite and deliver venom. And then they simultaneously kind of drool all over their food to liquefy it enough to be able to drink. And then with that same mouth they drool all over their food with, they're going to suck up the juices once they are liquefied, kind of like a little straw. They have a very interesting kind of sucker mouth. And they do have 8 legs, 2 center body parts, the cephalothorax, which is the center body part where the legs are connected to, and the abdomen, which is kind of the hind end area. Those are their 2 main center body parts. Unlike insects that have 3 center body parts, right? And insects actually have antennae, whereas spiders and arachnids, even scorpions, have arms instead of antennae. Scorpions have much larger arms than a spider does, right? They have big, giant claws or pincers that can grab onto their prey. And scorpions do not have venom in the front. They have venom in the back. They have a tail that wraps around and curls up and over their back that they can deliver venom. Just like spiders, scorpions vary in their venom too. Some scorpions are extremely toxic to humans, and some spiders are extremely toxic to humans. Now, none of those animals are dangerous unless you handle them or accidentally step on them or encounter them on accident or something like that. Unless they touch you, be very careful. You don't want to get bitten by any spider, right? But most spiders are actually harmless to humans, and most scorpions are harmless to humans too. Their venom for either spider or scorpion is mostly to incapacitate their food, like we mentioned before. So a spider would bite, deliver venom, the food is paralyzed, and they drool all over it, and they drink it up, and that's how they hunt. Otherwise, they cannot eat. These guys cannot chew food at all. Scorpions do chew food. They're totally different when they eat. We'll talk about them when we have a scorpion on the channel. But these guys do need to liquefy their food and make sure it doesn't get away before they can even eat. Aren't they cool? What do you guys think of Desi? We named him Desi because at first I didn't know male or female. I'm still not 1,000% sure, 100% sure. But we are looking like a boy, which is a little bit sad because I know that Desi will not live very long if we are male. Hello, hello. Hello, Christina. Good to see you on the show. Trying to look at some of y'all's questions, see if I can answer any of them. Yeah, he's a pretty big tarantula, although he's not the biggest we have. We actually have one that's very large. I'm actually going to show you her molt. It's our brand new animal that we got not too long ago. We haven't named that animal. This is Desi. It's a nice gender neutral name because we didn't know the gender at first. But this one that we have is definitely female. I'm going to show you her molt here in a minute. She's not on the show, but we'll show you that here in a little bit. I'll show you how much bigger that tarantula is. He's beautiful. Thank you. Kind of Desi Arnaz. I just like the name Desi in general, but yes, I like to think he's named after Desi Arnaz. Good question. Good question. You guys have any other questions? Oh, Black Widow spider bite. That's no fun. That is definitely one significant spider bite for sure. Thank you for saying you love the show. That is so sweet over on Instagram from Samantha. How did I get this tarantula? This tarantula came from a store that sells them. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I will walk into a space and I see something I like and I will purchase it. I've had him for a little while. So I'm hoping we're actually female, but I think it's a male. So we may not have too much longer. But the female tarantulas live very, very long time compared to males, and males just basically breed and then pass away after a few years. However, that is a pretty long life. Even a few years is a long life for an invertebrate, isn't it? So most invertebrates, including insects, have a lifespan of weeks to months to live, at least as adults. Some insects start their life as an egg and then a larva, and then they metamorphosize, right? And then once they become that adult, that mature animal, they're usually not going to live very much longer. We've got insects called Madagascar hissing cockroaches in our collection. That's another fun animal to bring on the show and also meet in person and virtually too, that live a lot longer than most insects. So Madagascar hissing cockroaches are one of the few type of insects that can actually live up to 5 years, which is very, very significant for an insect or invertebrate in general. These guys, tarantulas, usually live a long time too, at least that long, if not 20s and 30s for females. Yes, you can. Christina's asking a very good question. I'm going to highlight your question, Christina. Can you tell if it's a male or female by looking at the molt? Now, you have to actually catch the molt pretty early, and if it hardens up and kind of shrivels up a little bit, it's hard to tell this, but there are certain ways to tell, and I'm really bad at it. I usually actually cheat by asking some of my arachnid expert friends. I will send them pictures of the molts, and they can typically tell me right away. Now, when an animal is mature and big, I'm pretty confident in telling you if it's male or female, but when they're babies or juveniles, it's really hard to tell. You love my videos? Thank you so much for saying that. That is so nice. Smoothie? Oh, the food. Christina says, smoothie. I didn't know what you were saying a second ago. You lost me there, but now I know. So it's like a bug smoothie, exactly. So when they bite their food, then they wait for it to liquefy as they use their saliva and drool all over the place. They kind of slobber all over it, and then they wait for it to liquefy, and they'll slurp it up like a bug smoothie. Now I want a smoothie. Thanks a lot, Christina. But yes, that is one way. Back to the molt question, that is definitely one way that most experts that have arachnids, or most breeders, will actually tell when their animal molts. And you guys know what I mean by molt, right? So just like a reptile, these guys will actually shed to grow. All of your cold-blooded animals are like that for the most part. So snakes will, of course, shed their skin. It's just the epidermal layer, so it's the top layer. And when they shed, it's almost like a clear, opaque skin that comes right off. It looks like the snake, but not the same color. But when an arachnid sheds, I'm going to show you in a little bit once I get him settled back down here in a second. I'm going to show you an example of a molt. It's like the whole entire exoskeleton. They have to take it off. And when they do so, they're going to do that usually overnight when it's a little bit safer inside their burrow den, or if they're a tree-dwelling tarantula, they'll be in like a little area they've made with web. They have to make sure they're in a safe kind of like sheltered area in order to stay safe from other animals that might eat them. Because when they're about to molt, they're very soft and vulnerable. They don't have that hard exoskeleton shell they usually have. They're going to have to soften their bodies to come out of the molt, and they harden overnight and have their new exoskeleton. How that helps animals, reptiles, arachnids, whatever, that actually do that helps them to heal really, really well. Just like a scab helps you heal when you get a scab over a wound, or when you get sunburn and your skin flakes off to heal itself, right? That's going to help you heal. That helps them heal too in an extreme way, whether they be a snake, reptile, or one of these guys. Crabs do the same thing. They get a whole new shell every time they grow up. Isn't that so cool? And it's like another one next to them. When the shell comes off, it looks like there's two of them. They've like multiplied in there. Sometimes when arachnid keepers, that happens to them overnight, they're like, whoa, 2 spiders in the enclosure. And then they forget, oh yeah, they molted, right? But that helps them heal. It also helps them get rid of external parasites, potentially. A lot of snakes and lizards can get like ticks on their bodies, and that helps them to get rid of parasites and things like that. And it's like starting all over again, especially for these guys. Pretty cool. Now, a lot of people are scared of spiders, but most spiders are harmless to humans, although there are some that are significantly toxic, right? Just like a lot of animals, bees, hornets, things like that, and some even worse than that. But most of these guys we can just leave alone. They're extremely important to the environment because they eat a lot of insects, and that's very, very important because insects can cause lots of diseases or take over if there's too many of them. So we definitely need animals eating those guys, whether they be lizards, bats, or spiders. Eating lots of bugs for us is going to keep us healthy. So kiddos out there, we want to make sure to leave spiders alone. If you have a spider in your house, you can let it live there. A lot of jumping spiders and house spiders live in people's houses. Even wolf spiders are harmless to humans, you guys, even though they're a little bit scary. Once you get used to them, they don't bother me at all anymore. I used to be scared of wolf spiders, but now they don't bother me anymore. Identify them properly before you let them live in your house, right? If you need help with that, you can send me a photo if you like. But they are definitely important. Smoothies are awesome. Yes, they are, Justin. And you like the tarantula. Thank you so much. Yeah, he is so pretty. You can see why they call him the Stripey tarantula. Kind of looks like a little skeleton pattern. Isn't that cute? Kind of black and white, but really brown, right? I was trying to theme it out with black and white animals tonight, just to have some sort of random theme. It was very last minute, so forgive me. Now let's talk about Tarantula Senses before we let Desi go back down, because he's doing a really good job. So we have eyes as a tarantula. They have eyes. We have eyes as humans too. They definitely have more eyes than us. They have 8 eyes. And in the case of this tarantula and most tarantulas, their eyes are kind of in one little cluster right on top of their cephalothorax. I'm not going to point it out because I don't want to spook him because he's doing so well right now on this little piece of bark. But they're right there on the top of the head, or cephalothorax section, the first section of their body where the legs are connected. That's where the eyes are, and kind of like a little pattern that reminds me of an old-fashioned cherry on top of a police car, like in the cartoon. That's what it looks like. It looks like the red cherry on top of a police car in like the Looney Tunes cartoons. That's what it reminds me of. And they have like a cluster of 8. But they don't see well. They actually don't see good at all. Their vision is extremely limited. Now, that's not all spiders. For example, jumping spiders actually see very well and even see colors. These guys don't see colors. They just see shadows and movement to help them navigate a little bit. And so their eyesight is not great. Another sense that they have is their sense of touch. Like I mentioned at the beginning, he's very sensitive to sense of touch. They're covered in hair. which are actually not the same thing as our hair. Our hair is made of keratin. Their hair is made of chitin, which is a different material microscopically. And all arachnids and insect outer shells are made out of chitin, and the hairy antenna of a moth is made out of chitin as well, and their hair is made out of chitin. So it's not true hair, but it is pretty much hair. It's hair-like, and it's soft and everything like that. They can use their hair as a weapon. Like I mentioned before, they can actually take their back leg and rub it up against their abdomen and creating a cloud of hair that you can barely see, but that might irritate your face or eyes or skin. That's a great defense mechanism too. Hair for a weapon, weapon for hair, either or. Hair weapon. And then another thing that they do, which is their most important reason they have hair, is to sense touch, vibrations. Most tarantulas and most spiders create web. Did you know that? So a lot of spiders make webs, and there's different types of web per species. Some spiders do not make webs, for example. The wolf spider I mentioned actually doesn't make any webs. They're kind of a wandering species. That's why they wander so quickly and why they're kind of scary looking to some people. It's just their movement. These guys make webs. And tarantulas in general make webs. Arboreal species that live in the trees, they'll make web hammocks and little structures to kind of live in, maybe like a little tunnel. Some tarantulas will make kind of like a home out of their web up against maybe a fallen log or something like that. And some tarantulas will go underground and make a web carpet or just general decoration inside their home. And all of them use it for comfort as well as detecting prey. So when a bug will climb onto any spider's web, they're going to sit on the web too, and then they'll be able to feel the vibration of that skittering insect or food item of some sort. Some bigger tarantulas eat bigger things, right? And they'll be able to sense whether that's prey or something dangerous. He was running away from what he thinks is danger, which is me. He's scared of me. But that's another way that they can use their sense of touch, is to get away from scary animals that might eat them. So that's their main and number one, 100% number one sense for a tarantula is going to be their sense of touch with vibrations. Yeah, up the nose is always fun too, to get their hairs up your nose. So when you're cleaning out tarantula enclosures, for example, sometimes we forget about the hair. So it's really a good idea to wear like a face mask on your face that we all know how to wear now, and also sunglasses. It's actually extremely important. And even gloves if you want to, although you can probably wash your hands afterwards. Here's a good question from Viviana. Do tarantulas prefer dry, arid weather over cool wetlands? It really depends. There's tarantula species all over the place. Spiders live all over the planet except for Antarctica, and tarantulas live also all over the planet too. Some tarantulas are in the tropics, some tarantulas are in deserts, some tarantulas are in forests, neighborhoods, all over the place. So they're very adaptable to different places, just depends on the species. This is a species from Costa Rica, so it's going to kind of have a little bit of some different habitat options there, but usually warm. So they're kind of a warmer weather type tarantula. But there's tarantulas in seasonal places like Texas. Texas has 4 seasons, even though we're mostly hot, and it's hard to remember anything else right now, but hot, sweltering, no rain, heat in South Texas. Thanks a lot, Texas. But in Texas, we also get cold weather, and the tarantulas will just lay dormant. They kind of go into a hibernation during the winter when there's no resources for them and it's colder, but they kind of just survive through it. Especially the females that live a long, long time. So it just depends. Some tarantulas like drier, hotter. Some tarantulas are seasonal. Some tarantulas are more tropical. Some tarantulas live in trees, and some live underground, and some live on the ground itself. Most of the time, your female tarantulas will stay put in their home, and then males will be the wandering ones. So if you see tarantulas crawling around in Texas, that's typically boys. Unless we get some sort of flooding situation where their burrows are flooded and females are forced to leave their homes to find new homes. Usually females just stay home, and when it's mating time, the males will come door to door. Sometimes when they go door to door, it might be food time instead of mating time for the female, because yes, they are cannibals sometimes. If they're hungry enough, they will eat each other. But if that female is in the mood and it's time for breeding, she will breed with him, and that's how it goes. They'll typically stay home and wait for mates to come to the door. Yeah, the heat is super crazy. That tarantula hasn't moved a muscle, somebody says. Hello. You should have seen when he first came out. He was crawling all over me and going crazy. So rewind it when this video gets uploaded. Those of you that saw that were probably pretty concerned. He is fine, and I am fine too. Ha 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 ha. But now we are very still how I want him to be. Yes, there's lots of tarantulas in West Texas. They're kind of blackish, brownish ones. Yep, there's different kinds. Texas browns are the most common kind. I'd have to see a picture to identify it for you. They do come in different colors, of course, and whatnot. There's many species. All right, I think Desi did a great job. We're going to now attempt to put him back, which may be an adventure as well. So those of you on Instagram can see the container. This is how we travel. This is not what he lives in. When our animals, you can just see it over here too, I guess. There it is. It's just a bin with some cypress mulch in there. When our animals travel, of course, they have smaller containers than what they live in, you guys. You should know that by now. I've told you guys that many, many times. But if you're new here, hello, my name is Amanda, and this is Once in a Wild. We own a mobile zoo, and today it's a virtual zoo. We do our live stream every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. across social media. We're on Instagram and all the rest of the social media except TikTok tonight. So when our animals travel, they have to travel in smaller enclosures than they live in. That is actually much safer to travel in something small, not too small where they can't move at all, but in the event of, heaven forbid, a car accident. You don't want them in something where they can jostle around too much. You want them kind of contained. Tarantulas are extremely fragile animals. I know this guy was running around all over the place and he's fine. I promise you guys. He was on a padded surface. He was crawling on my shirt. He is okay. They're kind of an exception to this rule. Most tarantulas you don't really want to handle much at all, and if they fall, they can die. And so in a tarantula traveling situation, you want them kind of cramped in there, to be frank. You want them to be less able to jostle around. I hope that makes sense. In the event I have to, stop short in traffic, which happens all the time, right? Or I have to turn, maybe I miss my turn and I'm trying to turn. I try to be very careful, of course, but things happen. Or if I'm in a fender bender or worse, we want our animals to survive all of that. So when they travel, it's really important. Just like when your baby's in a car seat and not just in the back seat, that is much, much safer, right? Okay, we're going to start the adventure of putting him away on Instagram. You can probably see this a little bit better. And we're going to do our very, very best to make this seamless. Look at this. That's pretty good. Ta-da! Everything went well. I have done this more than a few times. Okay, so those are all the animals for the night. I hope you guys really enjoyed the show. I'm going to make sure there's not any more questions to... Oh, Kaya asked about the elk calling. That is funny. Yes, it is kind of like a very high-pitched harmonica. And I think Justin would actually be one to ask more about that. So the very, very highest high pitch of a harmonica is what an elk in rut sounds like when they're calling out to their mates. It's like a high-pitched squeal. That is what it sounds like. I'm going to refocus on me so we can make sure and say goodbye in style and make sure that I am in focus. Now, one more thing I wanted to show you guys. That is the last animal, live animal of the evening. But I wanted to show you that molt that I was talking about. So this is from an Indian ornamental tarantula, a much different species of tarantula. This type of tarantula would actually be much more significant in venom than a Costa Rican stripey tarantula that we met, Desi. This one actually does not have a name yet. I've been calling it IO, which stands for Indian ornamental. But this is actually the molt. Not the live animal, so don't feel bad for the fall. This is a molt from that tarantula. Look how large that one is. We do have this live animal. We just didn't bring it on the show tonight. It's kind of a hard animal to show on the live stream because we have to keep her in a enclosure, and then all the reflections, they're reflective under the lights and things in the studio. Can you see that molt? It's huge. That's pretty cool. You can even see the fangs and everything. I'm going to be very gentle with this thing so I don't break it. That is me shaking, not the actual thing because that is not alive. So this is, can you see the fangs? I'm going to focus a little bit more. Those of you that are arachnophobic, I'm so sorry I didn't warn you. This is a Indian ornamental tarantula from India, of course. They are so beautiful in real life. And they are going to have huge fangs. Can you see those fangs? Whoosh, they're huge. Most tarantulas have really big fangs. They're kind of proportioned to their size, of course, but you can see how enormous that is. What if I put it on here? Is it easier for me to hold it? Probably. Hopefully it won't fall down. You can see how much bigger we can compare. Those of you that saw Desi on this piece of bark, this is a molt of an Indian ornamental tarantula. You can see how much bigger it is than Desi was. So cool. So this is kind of like the top or carapace area. That's right here. That would come off for them to slip right out whenever they are molting. So this would kind of have like a little top on the top, a little top on the dorsal of the animal. And that would kind of open right up like a lid. And then they would kind of be upside down and kind of slip out like this. And you can see the little holes where that has happened for this animal right there. The little holes. Each one of those holes is where the actual legs kind of stick into the shell. And then they get a brand new shell and that hardens kind of overnight. And then you're left over with this beautiful molt. So this is an example of a really nice molt. I'm going to put it back in its container because I'm afraid I'm going to break it. It's under glass, but you can kind of see it kind of in a plastic container. Nice and large, right? That was a gift from a friend of mine. Her name is Amber. And Amber not only gave me the animal, but also gave me a display molt, which is pretty special. So I really appreciated that. That just gives you an example of how big those fangs are. Can you see that? That is pretty cool. Maybe we'll bring our Indian ornamental spider on the show sometime soon. Well, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. That's all I have for tonight. Again, if you do want to help us out by supporting our animal, you can do so over at onceinawilds.com/donate to see all of your options. All of your donation options are also in the descriptions down below, as well as in the bio description on Instagram. You can also help support us in a free way by following us on social media. Any of those of your choice. The ones we're looking for right now, in particular, are Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. We need some more followers on those platforms, please, pretty please. That can help us out quite a bit. You can tell your friends and family that live in San Antonio all about us, or if you don't live in San Antonio, tell them as well, because we can bring the zoo to you virtually. Just like we did tonight, we can bring some animals on your private Zoom that you pick. It doesn't have to be creepy crawlies. They can be mammals, birds, and really fun animals like that, or we can mix it up for you. And I hope you enjoyed the show, and we hope to see you next time. Stay tuned to our website for public events coming up very soon. We have a library event this Saturday. We will list those details extremely soon. I want to make sure and get them right before I tell you right now because I can't remember the details. It is going to be at 10:30 a.m. Maybe visit the San Antonio Public Library website in the meantime before we get it out there, so you can see those details. But we'll be there this Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and stay tuned for details coming up. We always try to post on social media about those things, as well as our website, onceinawilds.com. Alrighty, guys, we're gonna play our song and exit and say goodbye until next week. See you later. We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while, together. Once in a while, I wanna hear you say once in a while. That's the fun for me and you. Alrighty, everybody. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. And if we're not live, we'll run a rerun for you guys as always. But hopefully we'll be live next week on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time across social media. See you guys later. Bye.